down to Biscayne. Yikes. 5 on the floor, ride for my dogs. Where here's the thing, you can check the score. Hustle hard, couple scars, wearing bubble frauds. Just like Butler said, you in trouble, y'all. Kept the floor playing, got it all banned. Y'all seen the block, stop with one hand. And Pat we trust, it's power, have the guts. We're here to bring the heat, y'all can hang it up.
Welcome to 5 on the Floor, a daily insider show on the Miami Heat and the NBA, featuring Ethan Skolnick, Greg Sylvander, and Alex Toledo, plus others from the 5 Reasons Sports Network.
Welcome into the latest episode of 5 on the Floor. I'm your host, Greg Sylvander. Today's floor plan with me, we have Brady Hawk. Follow him on Twitter at BradyHawk305. And Alex Toledo, who's also on the ones and twos. Follow him at Tropical Blanket. Today's floor plan, we're going to react to some of the Dame Lillard-centered comments that have came from Miami Heat basketball players recently, because we think there's a common thread we can get to when we get into these comments, considering that they were made just to set the stage for everybody at local, basically kids camps, where the media has had the opportunity to talk to guys like Josh Richardson, talk to guys like Udonis Haslem and Bam Adebayo. So we want to get into those quotes. We want to talk about what they mean, but also I think that there's an underlying thing that we need to get to here about the fact that they're even willing to talk about those quotes. Before we get into any of that, though, y'all know how we're starting this show. We need to shout out a sponsor, and that is a great one, Aggressive Insurance. Y'all know insurancebyLynette.com. She's always in the comments of all of our post-game shows. Aggressive Insurance, 954-581-8800. Aggressive Insurance is a broker agency servicing South Florida for over 15 years, offering auto, homeowners, condo, life insurance, retirement programs, free notary service to all clients, representing the leading insurance carriers all throughout South Florida. So if you have a bad driving record, no problem. No driver is refused. Free phone quotes. Give her a call, 954-581-8800. Again, that website is insurancebyLynette.com. Again, that's Lynette with 2 N's and 2 T's, insurancebyLynette.com, 954-581-8800, Aggressive Insurance. All right, so let's just dive right into these quotes. So, Alex, we had an event today that Brady Hawk had the chance to get to, so we're going to get his feedback on what the vibes were like in the room in a moment. But before we do, shout out to Brendan Tobin from 560, always getting the great audio, the great visuals. His YouTube channel is a gold mine to everybody who listens to our show. Our YouTube channel is great, but Brendan Tobin's is as well. We wanted to pull some of the audio specifically. I guess we'll start with what Bam Adebayo said, because he was asked about Damian Lillard today in the context of him and his relationship with him. And I think that he had a pretty interesting answer. So let's dive into that first.
Yeah, big news off the court. Damian Lillard supposedly.
I knew you was going to come over here with this man.
The community question, that's not fair. I was going to ask that stuff. What was your reaction to kind of all that going on? Obviously, you got a good relationship with him.
I mean, right now, the biggest thing, I'm not worried about that. Biggest thing is, me and Dame do have a connection. We do have a type of brotherhood, but, it's business. Both sides want it to make sense. We're not a part of that. Well, I'm not a part of that. But, the only thing I can do is spread my influence, and, me and Dame just continue to be close friends.
When this all kind of started, though, he was on a podcast, and he just said, hypothetically, the first team that he wanted to come to was Miami because of you. When you guys were in the Olympics, was there talk, do you guys ever just banter just about, what that would be like? Because you got that kind of taste of it?
I mean, you don't really have the banter or the conversation, because at the end of the day, we were there for business, which was winning the gold. So, you do have those type of imaginations, but at the end of the day, we all understand it's business. It has to make sense. You can't always have your way. But the biggest thing for us is it could potentially happen.
There it could potentially happen. Bam Adebayo coming out and ending it there. I thought another soundbite that jumped out and grabbed me was something to the effect of, I'll use the influence I have, as he's not in control of a lot of this. Brady, this is crazy, man. Like, they're essentially going up to him and asking him about Damian Lillard. And we know that that puts his teammates in weird places because it infers that there's going to be roster shakeup. And Bam Adebayo is speaking about it very openly. You were in the building today. Your thoughts on Bam's comments, also just the vibe in the building. Were people acknowledging Dame as a thing that was going down? Did you feel like that was like the buzz in the building? What were your thoughts as you were on site today at Bam Adebayo's camp?
Yeah, so I'd say it's pretty real. I think everybody from top to bottom is pretty aware of it. You start the fact there was somebody in there that had a USA Lillard jersey on when he walked in, I guess, and Bam was taking a picture with him. There's like different moments like that. Bam was asked about it. You know, there was that interview, and there was also a separate interview with some of the media guys in the scrum, and he kind of shared very similar thoughts to what you just heard in that one. But he was basically talking about that he keeps being asked about it from campers. Like, they keep walking up to him and asking him. He's like, I don't know what to tell you because I don't know anything. Like, it felt like, and we're going to get into this because we're going to hear some other people that talk about it as well. But my big takeaway from it, from everybody that's spoken, is it's very real and genuine and honest, to be honest, because they're sitting here just like us. They really are. And they recognize that. Like, they're sitting back, and yeah, that's why Bam throws in the fact that says that even I have a little bit of influence, at least, because he could still at least reach out or something like that, or have a little bit of a say. But still, for the most part, he's sitting back and watching, like many of us, and seeing the latest news that's happening. So I just got that kind of take that I feel like is very real. But to your point, everybody's aware of it. It is a huge elephant in the room to everybody from top to bottom, even if you're not in trade discussions, if you are, if you aren't, if you're in fans, you're like, everybody is so aware of it that's why I think we're going to get to the point where we've talked about before that, like, it would be pretty awkward, like, just to walk back into that room on September 28th or 9th or whatever the heck it is. It would just be awkward. It'd be awkward for Portland side as well, as Ethan's noted. Ethan has talked about that a lot, that it's much more awkward for Portland than it will be for Miami because they're going to have the media coverage. But either way, Miami's still going to have that still type of elephant in the room. But I will say it was interesting just to hear him talk about it, just because I personally didn't even know he was going to be asked about it. I didn't think he was going to be allowed to be asked about it. So just to hear him talk about it openly in a way where it's like, it's very real. He notices it. He talked about their relationship. I just thought it was intriguing the way that he just talked about how similar they are, that kind of hinted at the fact that they can work together just because both of them are not loud. Like, they're both just about their work and they go about their business, which is also funny because I think about hypothetically that demeanor mixing with a guy like Jimmy Butler, who is the opposite of that on the court, where he is very loud and he's going to let you know. So I don't know. I thought I had some different thoughts, I think, about it throughout that, but yeah, it was interesting to hear him talk about it.
I mean, Bam said, of course you have those imaginations. And as you talk about Jimmy mixing in with Dame and all this, Alex, like, this wasn't a Heat event. So they didn't have PR there that could block and say, you cannot ask about Damian Lillard.
Yep.
You can only ask about last season and about how his offseason's going, et cetera, whatever they would say. And so,
because they're not allowed to, just to make it clear. The Heat were like at their stuff, they're not allowed to. But since it's not a Heat event,
exactly.
There's no media relations, right?
If I didn't articulate that properly, thank you. So this wasn't a Heat event because it was Bam Adebayo's event. It was a little looser, so guys got to answer questions. And so I do think that Brady's on something, that, like, dudes are speaking really honestly. What was your take on what you heard from Bam? Like, do you think that I am like fanning the flames in a way that I shouldn't be when I hear him talk about his influence, hear about him and his relationship with Dame Lillard, and him not shying away from the fact that it could possibly get done was the last thing we heard there, or something to that effect. I'm paraphrasing at this point. Like, you've covered the team now for several years, been around these guys, see them tap dance around trade rumors. To see Bam acknowledge it like that, what's your takeaway from it, just generally speaking?
You saying I've been covering the team for several made me feel so old, but I appreciate it because I guess you can classify it that way. I've been here for, I mean, yeah, it's been a while. I mean, the Jimmy era, and plus, I guess, whatever. Anyways, it was funny though because of what you mentioned, since there was no media relations around, just him being kind of as honest as he can be in a situation like that in a media scrum. A lot of kind of loud noises around. And a lot of loud noises around the Dame situation as well, right? I think he probably knew he was going to get asked that question. And I think maybe he's so used to having heat media relations around to be like, hey, you can't ask about this or this. That he sounded a little bit surprised, right, when it was asked the first time, but he probably knew. And I think just him saying, you know, it might potentially get done or whatever the quote was, and how him and Dame have the same demeanor. All of it feels like, you know, like you're saying, Brady, everybody's in the waiting game. Everybody kind of knows this is a thing. Like there's no shying away from it, right? It's become such a public matter for a month at this point, right? And so I like that Bam didn't really shy away. And honestly, I'm surprised he wasn't asked as a follow-up about Tyler or some of the other players that may or may not be involved in a Dame trade, because if they're able to ask him about the Dame thing,
right.
I'm kind of surprised. I'm kind of surprised that Ira didn't ask about, oh, well, what do you think if Tyler had to be dealt in a trade for Dame?
Right. To really poke
like that. Yeah, exactly. Since there's nobody around. But I like how real he's being about it, and the spreading the influence, right? That's really what he does with all this Team USA stuff. Like he's out there influence, and you know about Bam's influence. Like he's good friends with Jason Tatum, good friends with Donovan Mitchell. As we know, he's boys with Dame, and there's like a lot of those types of examples. And yeah, Dame mentioned Jimmy Butler too in that one podcast where he mentioned Bam immediately, instantaneously. But Bam is out there doing his thing, man, and it's cool to see like where we're at with it now. Like it's just been a thing for so long, and now Dame is just clearly that guy that Bam is gonna help them get.
And I'll say this: the comments today, if we're gonna and trust me, y'all, I understand that we are now looking at this under the most microscopic lens, and we are just dissecting every twist and turn. So please know that we are self-aware, to all of our listeners out there and viewers out there, that is part of this. But I will say, to all your points about how much open he was and that he didn't get the chance to talk about Tyler Herro, the crazy thing is that somebody else did get the chance to be asked about Tyler Herro and had some interesting stuff to say. Before we get into that, though, I want to tell you about another great sponsor of the 5 Reasons Sports Network, and it's the official gambling partner of 5 Reasons Sports Network and 5 on the Floor, and it's Better Edge, the stock exchange for sports betting. People ask, what makes Better Edge different from other sports betting platforms? Well, it's a betting marketplace where users buy and sell betting positions without a vig. Instead of a traditional sports book where the book sets the price, accepts your bet, takes fees, and pays out winnings, Better Edge Marketplace connects users on opposite sides of the bets at their own set prices. So you need to use the code 5RSN. That'll get you $20 to play immediately. 5RSN, that's that code to play. We do competitions all throughout the year, whether it be NBA, NFL, college basketball. Sean Rochester's big in this, but you got to get app.betteredge.com. It's a web-based app. You'll download it easily to your phone. Use the code 5RSN, $20 to play now. Again, that's Better Edge, the official gambling partner of the 5 Reasons Sports Network. All right. We got more sound, y'all, because it got more interesting. The captain was in the house, Udonis Haslam, UD, now no longer playing, officially announced his retirement. Shout out to you, UD. Alex, play that audio.
Obviously, the big thing of the summer is Damian Lillard. Yeah, interested coming to Miami. What's been your reaction to that rumor?
I'm just sitting around watching like everybody else. You know what I'm saying? I'm sitting around watching like everybody else. Obviously, I have a relationship with Tyler. So, I keep in touch with him. I talk to him. I check on his mental. But I'm sitting here watching just like everybody else to see what happens next.
How has he been doing with all this? He deals with that a lot. He has to go through this.
I think one thing I told Tyler, and one thing that we focus on is, the time spent. And the time spent here is amazing. So whatever happens, he can walk away with his head up. 6th man of the year. 2 NBA finals, 3 Eastern Conference finals. His 4 or 5 years here has been, equivalent or better than people's most careers. So he has nothing to be ashamed about. He holds his head high. He handled his business, and if that happens and the trade goes through, he goes somewhere else. He continues to build.
I mean, these were the money quotes, y'all. Udonis Haslam. First off, shout out to the vet, man. Like straight up saying, and the common thread, Brady Hawk nailed it. The honesty with which everybody approached this. It's refreshing, frankly, to hear you, D-Sab, and reaching out to Tyler, because you know what? It probably does suck to have to go through what Tyler is going through right now. He doesn't want to leave Miami. Miami fans love him. He loves Miami. The organization loves him. There's no bad blood there, but it's just this circumstance. But to hear Udonis talk about it like that, to talk about the fact that his career is better than most people's careers in Miami, as if it's past tense, to go through the accolades that he had, I just think that was like a real acknowledgement that when Udonis is having conversations with people, and and I think we all know who UD is having conversations with, it's players and it's probably people in the front office. He's connected to everybody. He's the connective tissue between everybody that's involved in this on the Miami side, right? For him to talk about it so much so, Alex, I'll come to you first on this one since I went to Brady first. Like, what do you make of that? Because that was one of the more jaw-dropping moments. And I'm probably being a little melodramatic, but I just feel like for him to talk about the fact that he's openly reaching out to Tyler Herro, that speaks volumes to me about how far down the line we are here, about where guys' heads are and where they may end up because they're thinking it may not be Miami. Your thoughts?
I mean, yeah, it kind of goes right back to that theme that we've been talking about here, where guys, I mean, compared to some of the stuff you get maybe during the season, or again when media relations is around, like they were pretty honest. And usually I feel like in other situations where they might be asked about something like this, the questions might not even come. But they were UD, as somebody who at this point does not work for the Heat anymore, right? Is in NBA terms, he's basically a regular citizen now, so he can talk, he can say whatever he needs to. And obviously the fact that he is talking to Tyler like this and kind of preparing him for a situation where he ends up getting moved, it does feel, again, like what you said, we're so far down the line. All of this has been so public for at this point that there's no hiding from it. There's no shying from it. And UD, if there's anybody to kind of deliver that message to Tyler Herro in a time like this, it's Udonis Haslam. Like that's his role. That's exactly what we would expect him to do. So I'm glad he is giving him that perspective. And honestly, it kind of maybe closes the door on the idea that there was ever a shot that Tyler would remain in the Dame trade as well. And also, like, just he also pointed out how it's a waiting game right now when it comes to kind of just waiting on this. So again, it's similar to what Bam was saying when he was kind of like, everything needs to make sense for both sides. He kind of kept repeating that, Bam did. And so everybody's just kind of acknowledging that it's a waiting game at this point. And I'm glad that, everybody's just kind of, being real about it.
Bam said it's business. You heard a lot of it. It's business. Brady, they're saying it's business, business, business. The captain spot has been Udonis Haslam's. We talked to Orlando Robinson here on the show. When I asked him, first name that pops in your head when I say Miami Heat team captain, he said Bam Adebayo. So now you have UD talking about Tyler. The captain is now going to be Bam, who spoke so openly about Dame. Your thoughts on how UD handled that himself, his comments in general, and as the captain baton gets passed to Bam Adebayo, what are your thoughts on how they would even handle a media day where, and you were at media day last year, so I know that you were you know what vibes can be like. What is your impression of what media day would be like today if this thing weren't to get done?
Yeah, so I'll answer that part first. I that's why I think that's where things get weird. Like it does, and we could sit here and say, we're going to hear a lot of the similar stuff from players and coaches that we'll hear the same things, like it's a business and this is Heat culture and they're going to push forward and they like this squad that they have, and you'd hear a lot of that type of stuff. But like once you hear a lot of these things in the offseason, especially when all this stuff becomes vocalized, it's hard to say it and actually believe it. I'll say, like, I think in reality, I think everybody knows how they feel and everybody knows what's really going on behind closed doors. And that's why I think UD's answer was interesting, because he brought that up immediately. And I don't think he's reaching out to Tyler because he read a report on Twitter. That's why I think this is interesting.
True.
I would say he's probably hearing stuff from possibly behind different walls where it's making him reach out to Tyler, because they are actually interested in Tyler's situation, because it's a guy that's been here for 4 years. It's a messed up situation for him because he's given all to a team. He's given his all to a city. And I think more than anything, that's what UD really recognizes and respects, is the fact that he's somebody that probably is kind of represented a city better than most guys on this team, because he just fits this culture and fits a lot of things that they do. So I think he respects that. And I think he's worried about kind of seeing what he does next and checking up on him. And obviously I thought those points he made were really funny, just hearing him kind of take shots at other people, saying that his 4-year tenure in Miami and his accolades are better than a lot of most guys in this league. That's a very, very Udonis Haslam answer, because he's going to speak absolute truth. But yeah, my main takeaway was that when Tyler gets brought up and you hear that point, I don't think he's seeing a Shams report on Twitter. He probably is. He's probably seeing it as well. But I don't think that's why he's calling Tyler up and making that. So just all this dot connecting, like I'll go back to my original point. It really comes back to, and we don't usually talk about this a lot, but it's honesty. It's just being genuine and just really talking about a situation as it is, and not really ducking stuff and playing both sides. Everybody is just really honest right now about it. It feels like all parties, maybe except front offices, because they're the ones that are actually doing the work on both sides, but everybody else is just sitting back and watching. So I don't know. But the Alex hit on the fact where he said kind of it's a waiting game. Everybody, when I say from top to bottom, that's all everybody says, because I think everybody, maybe nobody wants to hear this, but I feel like everybody's preparing for maybe it to go longer than expected. And I'm not saying into the season longer than expected, but like end of August longer than expected, or past August longer than expected, or maybe a couple of weeks later longer than expected. Like everybody knows that this is a waiting game, and so there's no point in time where you can dictate anything. So everybody's just sitting back and watching.
It's going to be a hurry up to wait process. Hurry up, wait, hurry up, wait, hurry up. Like that kind of situation. And then all of a sudden the deal will get done out of nowhere. I don't know what will be the thing that sparks it. But let me just say, man, too much smoke to not have the fire. Jay Rich still hasn't picked his number. He's number 0. He would want to come back here and wear 0. He can't take 0. Why do you think he can't take 0? Come on, y'all. And like Josh, like basically smirked that off at a camp that he was at recently. So I guess I'll close and just say this, that we're getting to this point now where when you see UD say what he says, when you see Tyler get mentioned, when you see Bam talk about it so openly, Josh doesn't have his number yet. If the Miami Heat don't get this done, media day, training camp is going to be awkward. It's going to have the potential even to be a little bit of a disaster. And when a disaster strikes in your home or business, you know who to call, Water Cleanup of Florida. And right now, they have a membership program. You got to get involved in it. It's a preventative maintenance program that will assist the average homeowner to become more aware of the primary maintenance needed for your home. Additional programs place members on a hurricane priority list after a major weather event, and annual air quality testing services are provided as well. With over 60 years of combined experience in inspecting buildings damage in South Florida. Water Cleanup of Florida has noticed trends that lead to the development of this unique program. Insurance claims typically do not cover damage due to the lack of primary maintenance. Leaking windows, doors, air handlers, and heavy rain seepage are just a few examples of costly projects that could have been avoided if the property was better maintained. So call Michael anytime on his personal cell, 954-579-0356, or visit the website, wcufl.com. Again, that's Water Cleanup of Florida. Check out their 75-star reviews on Google. If you got the schmutz, they got the guts. Water Cleanup of Florida. Final thoughts from either of you two on any of what was said today. Just want to make sure that we back clean up and y'all get anything in. If nothing, we shall say goodbye. All I'll say is that as we continue to read the tea leaves, I had someone DM me today and say, please let me know confidence level on Dame Lillard to Miami. And I'm not wavering. It is not reduced by 1% where I sit today. Final thoughts, Brady, Alex.
Well, I guess one thing was the couple of Jay Rich comments that surfaced this week at a different Heat camp, where you alluded to it with the jersey number stuff, where he hasn't picked a jersey number yet. We can all kind of figure out why. And was he wearing number 2 at something? That was also a thing
when he threw the first pitch at a Marlins game.
That's what it was. Yeah, that's what it was. As well as saying that Damian Lillard was, he called him the toughest cover. So that was like, it's obviously believable. Like, I can't imagine having to cover Damian Lillard, but it's just funny. Like,
what a coincidence, right?
Yeah, exactly. What a coincidence. And also, there was another comment where he said, "Oh, kind of with or without him, we're going to be good," or something like that. We're going to compete. I don't have the quote in front of me, but again, it just kind of contributes to that theme we're talking about, where it's just kind of out there. Like, we know what it is at this point, and it's on the Heat and of course the Blazers, but it's on the Heat first and foremost to make sure they get this thing done, because shout out to Water Cleanup. It's going to be a disaster if they don't pull this thing off.
And we're going to talk about the faction of the fan base that maybe actually thinks the Heat should start to look around and move on when Ethan returns from vacation. So that's the next episode coming here. We appreciate everyone listening to us break down the latest and greatest as it relates to Dame Lillard to Miami. We're going to keep covering every single comment, every single quote, every single tea leaf, because that's what we're here for. Ethan will be back next week. We're going to be ramping up the D Wade content, y'all. I want y'all to prepare. We're going to have a week of playback dedicated to Dwayne Wade, a week of 5 on the Floor shows dedicated to Dwayne Wade, because his Hall of Fame enshrinement is upon us. First ballot Hall of Famer, the greatest player in Miami Heat history, Dwayne Wade. So please mark your calendars all next week. Dwayne Wade week. I'm not going to call it that because I think maybe other pods maybe coined that phrase, but we're definitely rolling out a bunch of D Wade content coming next week. Thank you for joining us. Peace.